even in
Hold on.
like...
What's his name? There's an NPC that I love. What's his name?
Is it?
He has beans on his shirt.
It's okay. So that's Fig's non-bio dad, and
He's so sad.
he's so sad. Sing to me, Calliope, muse of epic poetry, of the joys in the heroes' hearts, and the countless smiles they brought upon Elmville. Sing of the brave souls, and the days on which the son of the Seacaster first fell to dance. Welcome to FanDive. My name is Chaos.
And my name is Endy.
And today we are talking about Fantasy High Dimension 20, which we've technically already talked about before. But like Fantasy High just got announced to have like an up-and-coming graphic novel. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Woo! I'm not excited as you are because, I will be honest, I know a lot about Fantasy High, and I have watched a number of the episodes, but I've more watched and known things through proximity.
Meanwhile, there's me who's literally like cosplayed a whole bunch of the cast before, and I'm like, no, well, not the cast of characters, not the cast of actors, but like, I like it.
I've not cosplayed it, but I have made a cosplay of it to give to another person.
Close enough. You understand it, yeah.
So I understand. I've had the episodes forcefully put in front of me and told watch it. So I have seen things. I'm just not as much in the know as Chaos is. So I'll have added commentary, but no.
But this is a me episode.
With a grain of salt.
This is a me episode.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start on catching you up. Dropout.tv, okay. Once upon a time, was part of College Humor. When College Humor went kaput, Dropout went, okay, so we're just going to do this on our own, right? And Dropout is now a streaming service where you can watch a whole bunch of like really awesome, funny things. And it's like absolutely amazing. And I love it with my whole heart. And one of those things is Fantasy High. Fantasy High was kind of the breakout season for Dimension 20. Dimension 20 is just like, it's a D&D show and like different seasons cover different things. Fantasy High is like, what if we take classic D&D tropes, but then we put it in like almost a 1950s setting and just like modern day.
It's a high school AU is what it is.
Happens?
It is a fantasy setting high school AU.
And our main cast of characters are, in the beginning, freshmen entering into their first year of the Adventuring Academy of Eggfort. And things go wrong day one.
For our international audience, how old is that?
14-ish is freshman.
We're young teenagers. And we're put into school and we're told, hey, guess what? Take a class.
Yeah, 13 to 14 is freshmen. So, like, this is people who are, like, barely, like, on the edge of coming out of puberty, and it's rough for them.
I did enjoy watching full-grown people roleplay awkward young teens.
And they do, like, we're literally introduced to some of our main cast of characters. We have Adine, who literally, like, it's not done frequently, but it is brought up on, like, several key moments. Adine has, like, an anxiety disorder and, like, actively has to roll for panic attacks in, like, multiple points throughout the show. And it's like, does that get brought up a lot in teen media? Like, not in that kind of way.
Mm-mm. We do this time.
We do this time. And we have a lot of characters who are like, we're trying to find our place in the world. And then we have other characters who are like trying to find individuality or you know, in some cases, like Kristen Appleby's, have individuality thrust upon them. So, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, so all of the characters have the pre-established identity, but just like any young teenager, it's kind of, flimsy at best. And so when they get put in these odd scenarios and, guess we're going on this adventure, things get challenged, things get changed, we get to learn and grow, because young teenagers going on deadly adventures, good luck. Good luck keeping your identity.
We currently have 3 seasons of Fantasy High. We have junior year, sophomore year, and freshman year. I did that backwards. Sophomore year actually happened during the pandemic. So, you know, it was live streamed. And I've heard a lot of people like debate back and forth on whether or not they liked sophomore year. And I'm like, it has very important plot points that you need to know about before getting into junior year. But I'm going to be so real. Sophomore year is one of my 100%, like, I'm just going to play it in the background while I do something else.
I mean, I do that for most things. But, yeah, I don't actually know if I've watched anything directly. I know I've been told a lot of things, but I don't know if I had any from that season forcibly put in front of me and told to watch.
Season 1, I believe the first 8 episodes are entirely up on YouTube for free. And, like, they even have one giant binge episode where it's like, this is the first 8 episodes in a 16-hour long video. And I just remember I was very sick one winter and went, okay, play. And that was my introduction.
Critical Role.
See, I can't do Critical Role. It's too long per episode. Dimension 20 is really good at keeping things really tightly edited. And I think that was like one of the main criticisms of sophomore year is because it was live streamed, it wasn't as edited down to like a really well-paced formula. So like I love Dimension 20, but the second you do things through Zoom and on the live stream, like the pacing changes.
It's true, but it's still something that a lot of people enjoy. I don't know how many actually, but like I hear about it in real life. I've seen a number of people, both in real life and even more online, have a lot of praises for this show. The way that it represents characters, the way people play the characters, the storylines that get addressed. Some of the absolutely hilarious moments will get clips that I see all the time.
I love the out of context compilations. Those are so fun.
Yeah, the out of context compilations. I will say one of my favorite things with the different D&D shows is watching compilations of either the best moments, the funniest moments, out of context moments, Brennan Lee Mulligan's best NPCs.
Brennan Lee Mulligan is the DM. This is the game master. This is the guy whose job it is to write stories. And if you know Brennan Lee Mulligan's work, there's a lot of repeating patterns, so you kind of know what you're getting into, but the way he crafts a world around character decisions makes it so unique every time. Like, he's so free-flowing and like, yeah, this was my idea, but Emily just brought up this really funny thing, and I'm going to work that in.
It's a part of it now.
This is a little bit of a spoiler for junior year, so heads up. But in freshman year, there's this character who, like, rushes in and does a thing, and, like, the person who plays Figurath Faith, which is her whole character arc, was like, I thought I was an elf, but it turns out I'm actually, like, the daughter of a demon. You know, that's kind of, like, teenage drama moments, you know.
You're not my real dad.
And it really sets up for this character who's very suspicious of the world. And there's, in this freshman year moment, like, immediately points to a character who does something weird. This character was a nobody character. Brennan had no plot points set for this character, but it kept getting brought up. It's like, this character is suspicious. I don't trust this character. And it got to the point where in junior year, that ended up being one of the main antagonists just because Brennan liked the idea so much of like, yeah, this character is weird and is acting off, and that is suspicious.
It is a really good example of how D&D is supposed to be played, because I think that's part of why Fantasy High got as much praises and gets as much praises as it does, is because it changes and it adapts and it's fun and it's people having fun.
It's a group storytelling moment. That is what we need.
I suppose this is also probably spoilers, but what's that one character had like a pirate dad and then changed classes to dance?
Okay, so this is actually my favorite character. This is Fabian Seacaster, right? And he is like his human father is Bill Seacaster, the greatest pirate, like got to the point where this pirate retired, brought his boat on land. They're living out of this giant mansion that used to be the battleship, right? And his mother is like this borderline immortal elf, like beautiful swordswoman, stunning everything. And there's this point where it's like Fabian keeps trying to live up to his father's expectations of being like this grand pirate heir, but who was raised very aristocratically, like who was raised in a lot of wealth and a lot of money, and he's going to school to be a hero and not a pirate. And there's so many points where it's like, I'm trying to do this to appease my father, but his father really just wants what was best for Fabian. And, you know, there's a moment where things happen to Bill, and Fabian, like, ends up reflecting on this further throughout the story. And there's this moment of, like, it's a very famous quote of, "Toxic masculinity is dead. I dance now." And the following season, he takes a level in Bard. So he goes from a human or half-human fighter class to now, like, he's a fighter, he's a hero, he's a champion, and also a dancer.
He likes dance. He just dances.
And he dances now.
I've been told about the dance teacher a few times.
Oh, the dance teacher. So it's such an interesting character. You know what?
So many interesting characters.
Yeah, let's actually do a run through of like the main cast. So I am going to be yelled at if I don't bring up Riz. Riz is Chaotic Saturn's favorite character. Riz Gukgak. This guy, he's a little goblin, and it's so interesting because like goblins are so frequently seen as just like, this is that side character who, like, this NPC who is a minion or like a demon or some sort of thing to easily be overrun. So Riz Gukgak immediately starts off with that kind of like, yeah, I have to prove myself. But he's going as a rogue. He's going as someone who's like, I am here to get information. I'm here to figure things out. And we learn a lot about his father later down the line, which I'm super not going to spoil because that is, oh my god, that reveal. Okay. But like, so much about Riz is like, you have to stand out while being in the shadows. And how do you do that? And he's so smart and he's so tactical about how he does a couple things. And I've seen a couple people not be happy with how we've gotten like that preview art of Riz, because it's very childish art style being done in this graphic novel that we're getting. But I'm like, he's meant to be the smallest one. He's meant to look very young in this. Like, he's going into a hero adventuring academy and he's like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, he is, I would like to say, depicting young teenagers as children is correct. Have you ever seen a 13-year-old? Sometimes you look at them and you're like, are you 8 or are you 19? I cannot tell. Sometimes, especially if you have a character who's 3 feet tall, that's a child. Are you certain that's not a child? This is a different D&D show, but would the little man like a booster? The green child want a booster? I don't have a gripe with it, honestly. I don't have a gripe with depicting him as younger, even if we have more growth later on, because that's part of just who the character is.
I can't wait for like sophomore year when they have to show that baby-faced goblin covered in tattoos. Like, yeah, okay, let's see how your art style manages this.
Yeah, do it. Find out.
All right, so we have Fabian, we have Riz. We briefly talked about Adine. Adine is, she comes from a very well-off family. She is not liked by her family, however. She is the youngest, and they do not like her at all, okay? Setting the tone here. Turns out she's the most powerful elven sorceress, like, in existence, and is going to be the next oracle.
Yeah. Let's go, Elven Oracle.
Let's go, Elven Oracle. Now, her family ends up being, like, super not good. And we get into that later seasons, especially, like, in sophomore year, right? But it's so much of, like, this character has to learn to separate herself from her family because they're not healthy for her, and she has power that they are refusing to let grow.
Yeah. So, interesting character development. Let's go.
Interesting. And I think that, honestly, you compare that to the other character, Kristen Appleby's, who has a very similar, like, underlying story here. Now, Kristen is this, like, is meant to be... I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this in a way that makes sense. Kristen Appleby's is meant to represent a child growing up in an extremist religious area and discovering, hey, by the way, you're queer. And that is a very hard thing for a lot of people. Like, there's actively like, hey, by the way, on Archives of Our Own, which we totally forgot to explain, that's what AO3 stands for a couple episodes ago. Whoops.
It's so stupid, we forgot.
But yeah, there's a whole like tag of like, yeah, by the way, this is religious trauma, and you can filter that out. And I'm like, you can't avoid that a lot of the times, though. Kristen Appleby's is really meant to represent that. And so it's like this person who is meant to be the chosen one for the god of soul, like this energy of like everything that you're brought up to believe with warmth and good. And then you, throughout freshman year, as you're exposed to more and more people, like high school being a very large group of people with very unique personalities, quickly figures out that's not for me.
Question.
Answer.
Wasn't that the god of corn?
Yes. Specifically, it's a huge pantheon. The god of corn is connected to the god of the sun. They kind of flip-flop around every now and then, but like Kristen specifically is the champion for the god of corn. However, episode 2, I think it is, Kristen dies. And gets
oh goodness.
And gets to meet her god and gets to ask some important questions and did not like the answers she was given. So, you know, bit of a reality check when you come back and you're supposed to be the cleric, the healer of your group. You're going to school specifically to learn about religious texts, and suddenly you realize this is not for me.
So if you want something, indication of the tone of this story, episode 2, dead.
She gets better.
They can go back, don't worry.
Well, yeah, because then the principal, Eggfort, and one other guy who I've honestly forgotten the name of, walk on in and bring them back at the cost of themselves.
Wasn't it the counselor? Because that set up the werewolf card?
Oh, yeah, it was the counselor. Yeah. So, yeah, the principal and the counselor not willingly, bang, bang, and Kristen and Gorga get brought back to life.
Dear my PG.
Listen, we brought up ABO the other episode, so
episodes that I've spoken about. I have avoided curse words, but I apologize for the topics we have discussed.
Welcome to fan space, you know?
I try so hard.
Let's talk about Gorgug next, right?
Bang bang!
So Gorgug is this orc character who was raised by, not halflings, is it?
Yeah, no. Yeah. You got an orc raised by halfling.
Yeah, and so like is brought up in like this very...
That gnomes.
I don't think it's gnomes. Is it not? Why am I doubting myself? Gorgug Thistle Springs. It's adopted by 2 gnomes. Okay, I was wrong. Anyways, so Gorgug is adopted by Norms. Gorgug is adopted by gnomes. Norms. You're not letting me get away with that.
Let me make fun of you in the most loving way possible.
Okay. So, yes, you can imagine that, like, he is growing up in an environment that he is quickly outgrowing. He is too tall. He does not fit in his house anymore. And he's trying to figure out who he is. He's raised by people who are really good at technology, but he's going to school as a barbarian. So, like, he has to figure out how to rage, how to have anger, when he was raised to actually, you know, sing when you're angry and, like, try to express emotions through something productive. And yet he is choosing not to follow that path.
I apologize. Anyway, there's a dog on my lap. There is a number of storylines that don't get discussed as frequently in other media that does get discussed in this particular setting because they have more freedom to do so than one would on other platforms. Both speaking D&D wise, but also speaking where they post the videos. They are allowed to explore these ideas that many people think about. Some of these concepts they do in very literal ways. Some of these they're like more vague about, like the concept of you're outgrowing your environment, but in a literal sense. That happens to a lot of people, but it's not talked about as much. The concept of religious trauma. But let's just pick a bunch of different gods. Let's do it. Let's do it. You don't get to talk about that as frequently, and especially not in that fun kind of way without making it just angst. And Fantasy High lends a hand to tropes and says, let's do them all, and let's have fun with it. And let's see what we can learn. And help strangers process the trauma, I guess. I don't know.
I think a lot of people have talked about in the past how like D&D is a great way to like work through something about yourself. So often people pick characters that they can relate to in a very specific way to try and like, this is the story I want to tell because this is the story that means something to me in this moment.
All storytelling does that to an extent. But D&D in its improvisational nature is just makes it even better, easier, fun.
Easier and fun and awesome. And there's so much we can talk about like Dimension 20 as a whole, like the way they tell characters and the way they tell stories and the way they like look at something. Like it's a little off topic, but the Misfits and Magic, it's a way to process that feeling about Harry Potter, which like a lot of people have very fond memories about, but just due to the author existing still, you can't feel like you can engage with it anymore. And so, like, Misfits and Magic is like, let's talk about magic and school settings and dealing with this kind of, like, world that a lot of people miss but feel guilty about and put it in a light that we can talk about once again and through characters that relate to people once again.
Yeah. Ooh. Sorry. Dog almost fell off the bed.
Not the dog.
I'm really distracted right now. I feel bad because I am paying attention and I am agreeing with your saying.
Yeah, but you also don't know what I'm talking about, and you have a dog with you right now. Okay, like I get it.
I have a dog in my hands who really wants my microphone.
Well, we talked all about the main cast of characters. I think we briefly skipped over Figure-Off Faith, but like Figure-Off Faith, iconic, love it, rock star, trying to discover yourself. Okay, beautiful. But like,
beautiful.
The extended cast of the world and the way there's so many different interpretations of the story you can look at, like even in like
what's his name? There's an NPC that I love. What's his name?
Is it?
He has beans on his shirt.
It's okay. So that's Fig's non-bio dad, and
he's so sad.
He's so sad.
Just a guy. He's just a guy. That's just a guy. But he's also a little bit sad. It's the kind of guy who just has a little bit of yogurt stain on his shirt.
So Gilear is the person you're thinking about, and like. Gilear's storyline so frequently it's like this is just a guy, like he is elven, he has some sort of like background information that is kind of important, but also it's like this is literally multiple occasions Brendan brings up like this guy has human standard hit points, like the stuff that we would have. Like if he gets stabbed, he's out, he's dead. The amount of times he died, we don't but so much of Fig's storyline is tied to him because at first it starts like you're not my dad, but it's like but you're still the guy who raised me. And and he's like, you know, it's like he doesn't have a job, like he's really lost himself, and it's like Fig's like, it's okay, the counselor and lunch lady positions are open. The counselor position just got taken by the werewolf. Congratulations, new lunch lad.
He's the lunch lad.
He's the lunch lad. And then something happens to the vice principal position, and then suddenly he gets promoted to be vice principal. And now he's and it's just it keeps going more and more of like taking this like very absurdist character, and like, you know, all characters are a little bit absurdist when you're dealing with Brennan Lee Mulligan, but the more you interact with a character, the more Brennan has to keep upping himself about like things that happen. It's like he would have been just like a down on his luck dad if we just interact with him once or twice, but the fact they kept going back to this character, it kept getting more and more silly.
Just I love the NPCs so much. I do enjoy our main cast and the stories that get told, but I enjoy when I get shown random NPCs that I have no context for, but it'll just be a clip where I see Gilear. It's him in the mirror. I am brave.
I'm brave.
I am strong. Do I have to do this?
The idea is like, yeah, you look yourself in the mirror and the more you say it, the more it becomes true. It's like, I love that. It's like you're trying to like pep talk your parent. Like that's such a funny thing. Oh, dude, and I have to talk about Eggfort. So Arthur Eggfort is is the principal of the Eggford Adventuring Academy. And he's introduced in this most insane way of like, he shows up, he does the bang bang, he disappears, and then eventually he comes back for reasons I'm not going to talk about. But I just have this like, oh, it's such like a heartfelt memory of like the first time we get to see Arthur Eggford's figure on like the table of like, this is his mini, this is what he looks like. And like Lou was like so shocked and so happy that Arthur Eggford, the most powerful like wizard in existence, was just this crazy old black man. And I was like, oh, this means something to someone. And the amount of like secondhand joy I got from that. Oh, Chronomancy. He's so good. And then his daughter, Adine, who is a half phoenix who ends up dating Fig. And
I know
like
that one.
Adine is like so like the representation of neurodivergent, autistic, like trying to figure things out without having words for them, and was raised functionally on a pirate ship. It's so, the whole Eggford family, like, it's so good.
It's great. It's so great.
It's so great. It's so great.
The things that I get shown, I don't know much, but I know about the Phoenix Lady. Because guess what? It has to do with the cosplay that I helped someone else make.
Oh.
Know about that one. The lesbians, maybe.
I'm trying to think of like, are there more really standout characters I want to talk about?
There's one that I want to talk about, but I can't. I've not decided if it's okay for me to talk about on camera or not.
Who is the football player who eats glass? Who?
What?
So,
I was thinking about the Halfling family, but okay.
There's a game called Blood Rush, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
that's functionally their football. And there's a couple of different characters who are very important freshman year, and one of them has like a lackey who is like ends up like, I don't remember if he ends up being bi or gay, but it's like his queer awakening is in a very dangerous situation, right? And like Gorgug.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to find something. Keep talking.
Gorgug and him are like talking, and it's like, yeah, sometimes I'm just like trying to eat and I accidentally eat glass, and that happens to like everyone. And Gorgug's like, yeah, totally. And I'm like, is it? Is it? Anyways, I can't remember his name off the top of my head because I'm thinking about too many different characters, but he's just so funny.
You're going to think I'm insane if you don't know what I'm talking about. You started speaking, I'm just like, yeah, they had a song about that in the musical version of, oh, that was a fan creation. Do you know about the musical version of Fantasy High?
No, but tell me more.
I'm desperately trying to find it right now. I'm messaging the friend who shows me all the Fantasy High things. But there is a creator who has created songs for like different scenes and episodes and has done it in order. Dimension 20. Let me see if I can find it. No.
Okay, so while you're looking, I want to talk about that halfling family. I assume you're talking about the halfling postman with the Molotov cocktail.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that Brennan is kind of known for. The subtle things that he brings up in his stories, sometimes represented by a Molotov cocktail. You know, like this is a very classic Brennan Lee Mulligan thing to include. And I love it so much. Dude, they did one of those like cute little like edits where it's like, this is someone saying something really inspirational with kind of like peaceful, joyful music and like shots of like nature and waterfall. But it's to the speech of like, y'all want to make some bacon? Oh, such a good one. Such a good one.
I love it. I found it, by the way.
You found it?
I did find it. It started 3 years ago and has periodically released more episodes. I'm going to send it in discourse thing and you have to listen to it later. It's just Fantasy High and it's one person playing all the different characters, creating harmonies, slowly telling the different story.
Oh wow,
this is I believe it only takes place in freshman year.
Yeah, voice out. Oh my god, I've never heard of this before and I'm so Eggford's announcement. Okay, I'm gonna be listening to this so much later. We are, however, needing to go into the Q&A.
Okay, go ahead. But shout out to that person. Musical ditty transition.
Question number 1. Your D&D class.
Druid.
See, I feel like I was like, oh, I would want to be a ranger because I really like doing archery. I don't think I'm naturey enough to be a ranger, though, so I'd probably just end up being a fighter who, like, subclasses in, like, either druid or ranger.
Yeah, but you can be a fighter who specializes in, like, long-range. That's a thing.
Yeah. But then I'm like, well, while I'm here, I don't think I could be like a wizard. I don't feel like I'd be good at memorizing spells. I would want to know 1 or 2 spells, though. Am I
Hear me out? Make you a warlock.
I would have such a hard time sticking to packs. I don't think I could do warlock. I could be a paladin. Like, I know Brennan just recently released like the paladin whose oath is freedom. That would be pretty sick. I could feel that.
Paladins are really interesting. But no, I've always been a druid. I've played a number of different ones, but I personally am a druid.
I feel like I would love to play an artificer. I don't think I'm smart enough, like IRL, to be considered an artificer, though.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Beautiful, can't do it.
Can.
Okay, question number 2. Your favorite thing Legend of Zelda related. I know you said you weren't really a Legend of Zelda gamer, but like, do you have like, oh, I really like this thing or this motif or this plot point or this pretty character?
I enjoy a different... sorry, I'm not sorry though, but I'm a cosplayer at heart, and I think the cosplays people do of Link are pretty great. There's some really good ones.
There's so many where it's like, and I love the new games where he has like a gazillion different outfits. I'm like, yes, please, this.
I don't know what game it was, but these like pyramid-esque things that like shoot at you and are spooky and everyone's scared of them because they're so hard to get around. But they are massive and they light up, have lights on them and whatever. Somebody just made themselves into one.
I love that.
And so they have like a little, I don't know if it's like a swivel chair in the center that they're sat on. And they have this giant like pyramid thing around them that turns and spins and has lights that turn on and it makes the sound of the thing noticing you and you have to panic because, oh no, it's seeing me. And it's a massive, massive cosplay that
Yeah, the Guardians.
The big ones. Yeah, the Guardians.
Yeah,
gorgeous work.
They're adorable and so pretty, and I love all the cosplays that come out of it, though. I think I really like just, like, the availability of the games. Like, not in terms of, like, you can get this on whatever, because you can't. It's Nintendo only, and honestly, that kind of sucks. But, like, I love how there's a different Zelda game for literally any type of gamer. And I know people who are like, I hate Breath of the Wild because it's too open world, versus people who are like, I love Breath of the Wild because I can just pick a direction and run. And I think that's like, there's puzzle versions of the games, there's like top-down versions of the games, they're classic, there's new, there's like so many different ways to play any version of the game. And I think that's like just one of the good things about one of the long-running series existing. I don't like how so many games are just repeats of old games, but I like how, at least in Zelda, they do it differently every time.
Yeah, because I worry when I get into games like that, because I actually have played a couple, but I don't consider myself a big fan, because I don't know things about it. I know basic stuff of what I played, and I couldn't tell you anything about any of the other games. And I've heard that there's a lot of crossover in concepts, but if you drop me in the world, don't know what's going on. I don't know. And so it's a little bit daunting to become a true fan of something or to say, I'm a fan of this, because they'll ask you about stuff. But just
no. I'm a fan of this specific thing about it.
Yeah, but you could 100% just play a game. Play any of the games. You don't have to play all of the previous ones to understand the game itself. People who are die-hard fans will understand a little bit more than you will, but you can just kind of go, hey, I'm playing this game now. Seems pretty fun. I'm fighting things. I got a shield and a sword. There's puzzles to do. Yippee!
Yippee, seems alright to me.
I enjoy that. I enjoy that you don't have to play everything in order to enjoy one of them.
All right. Well, question number 3, our final question, comes from Anonymous on Tumblr. As always, if you would like to add a question to our Q&A, you can ask it here in the comments or over on our Tumblr. So the question is, favorite thing to put in a jar? And I think this is a reference to me talking about I love ghosts in jars.
No, see, I have a couple of jars that I pick up things when I go on my walks, my nature walks sometimes, but just sometimes I'll walk through the city and I'll just pick up things. Like I've got a number of marbles, loose screws, funky pieces of wood, pieces of plastic soldiers. But there was an area that I found a number of little plastic soldiers. There was one time I found a claw of a large predatory bird. I just got that claw and I thought that was really cool. I used to think it was a dinosaur tooth before I brought it to somebody and went, look what I found! And they went, that's not a dinosaur tooth. But still cool.
Not what that is, but okay.
So I can't say for certain. Marbles are always great, because then I can say I've lost my marbles. But I like putting knickknacks, rusty little things, fill my shelves with jars full of bits of metal and plastic. It's cool. Fun.
I love drawings of little ghosts in jars. I think they're super cute, but of the actual glass jars that I have that aren't candles, because, I'm always here to make candles, I love filling them with rocks and seashells. And, like, anytime I go to the beach or the coast or, like, a vaguely sandy area, whatever I collect has to go in a jar, or else there would just be sand everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I don't like picking up sand. That's just a me thing. That's
the vibes of sand, not the greatest, but the vibes of like a clamshell, it's going in a jar.
Nice shell. Rocks, always rocks. Love good
always rocks. Good rock jar.
I've spoken about it before, but the rocks are nice better. Good rocks.
Indeed. I remember I move a lot. If you know me, I move a lot. And like the amount of time someone's like, what is in this box? I'm like, jars of rocks. I'm sorry.
This is going to be real short because then we can wrap up the episode. But I had this rock, I would say, hamburger-sized rock.
Ooh.
That was fairly thick, and I called it Baby. And rather than carrying around a little doll growing up, I would carry around this rock. I would call it Baby, and I would sneak it into my bag in order to go to school. I would put it in my bag, and it would break many bags, because I would sneak rocks in. And I would carry this baby around, and I still have it to this day. It's up on my shelf right now. But honestly, when they would ask, what's in your bag that's so heavy? Rock.
What a mood. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to bring my rock to school. It's my emotional support rock. Leave me alone.
It is. It's my baby. And I loved it, and I still love it. It's painted as a strawberry right now.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know.
All right.
Emotional attachment to rocks. Okay, that's the end of the episode.
We do have to end it here, so yeah, goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to this episode of FanDive. We'll be back again next Monday diving into yet another fandom. Have a topic you would like us to cover? Head over to our website, fandive.tumblr.com. There you can also find any episode relevant images and general shenanigans that we get up to. It is Tumblr after all. We're not ashamed of being fans of things.